Okay, I was up at the farm again this morning picking some more of my grape tomatoes, and while I was there I decided that yes, I had to harvest some of my herbs as well. So I got a couple of bundles of sage and another very large bundle of thyme, and I pulled up some of my rosemary by the roots. I'm hoping to plant this and it'll survive, and if it doesn't, I'll just have to dry it. So yeah, because rosemary will not survive out here in our zone 5 climate. So I'm hoping I can bring it indoors. Sometimes they don't like coming indoors, especially if it's too warm, and this place seems to be a bit on the warm side. So that's my herbs. So working on a number of things this morning. I have got my thyme that was dry, put into a jar. I've got another bunch of it drying. My sage, I've brought it indoors. I'm going to let it dry indoors for a little bit, as well as the rosemary before I crumple them up. So that's my herbs for the time being. Now my tomatoes, I have got tons and tons of these grape tomatoes that I have to deal with. And I have dehydrated a couple of jars, and at this point I think I have more than enough dehydrated tomatoes. So what I'm going to do is something new. I'm going to oven roast these, and then I'm going to can them, and I want to water bath can them, so I can't put them in oil, unfortunately. I'd love to put them in oil, but I will oven roast them with garlic and some of this thyme, garlic, thyme, and a little bit of salt perhaps, and then I will add a vinegar mixture that I'm going to make up so that it can be water bath canned. They should be yummy. I'm going to put them in small half pint jars, so that only what is used at the time, you take out and use that portion rather than leave it in the fridge. Now a lot of people pack this in oil and put it in the fridge. I don't have fridge space, and I really don't want to. I'd like to make them shelf stable. I have an issue with too many things in the fridge. So that's my plan for today. Okay, and aside from planning to work on roasting tomatoes, I am making another batch of yogurt cups, as you can see, and they will be put in the cooler to process before they're put in the fridge. So I'm going to put them in the cooler for about 4 or 5 hours. The longer you keep them in the cooler, the more tart they become. So they can stay longer than that. But anyway, that's one of the other jobs I'm doing for the day. Missing a cap. I have to find another cap. Okay, found the last cap. And so I'll just have to screw these on and put them in my cooler. So, as well as roasting tomatoes and making yogurt, I'm making some plain white bread. Now this is fairly simple and quick to make, and my husband likes the white bread, so we're out, and I'll be making 2 loaves of that today. Okay, so far I've brought out all my roasting trays, and I've got 3 of them full of little tomatoes that I've cut in half, and that looks like I'm going to have definitely a second batch to do. As I still have another 2 of these yet to do. So, next stage, the oven is warmed up to 4 1/4. And I'm going to slice up some garlic. And the reason you want to slice it is because you cannot can whole garlic fresh. It has to be sliced, diced, made smaller so that it can cook up a bit. So I'm going to put 1 clove in each tray, which is not a lot. but it's enough to add the flavor. So, and yes, you could dice this as well, so perhaps those ones are a little thick. Okay, one more. Just to ensure that the garlic does cook up as well. You don't want raw garlic in this. Okay, then I'm going to add some of my homegrown thyme. Just sprinkle it on. And I'd love to add oil, but I'm not going to because I'm going to water bath can these. So probably add oil when we open the jars, and I'll do that instead. And yes, you would want to add a good olive oil at that point. Okay. The other thing we can do here is sprinkle a little bit of salt on each one. And yes, I scare people that I can actually use the box itself to sprinkle salt. Okay, those are ready to go in the oven and roast. And when they're completely roasted, then we'll pull them out and put them in half-pint jars. Meanwhile, I suppose I can continue to slice tomatoes in half and just put them aside until they're ready to be roasted. So, won't hurt anything to do them ahead of time. Wait for the other, for the trays to be empty and place some room in the oven as well. Okay, so I'll just finish slicing those up. Okay, my yogurt is in the cooler, fermenting, I suppose, yes. My bread is in its pans, rising, so this is going to be at least another, 40 minutes before it's ready. My roasted tomatoes are still not quite ready, but they're in the oven. And I am working on a concoction. I'm not sure if I like the taste of it, but to water bath can these, I have to add lemon or vinegar. And I'm going to add a mixture of all three. Lemon, some balsamic, and some wine vinegar. And what I have put together, what I taste more than anything else, is the lemon juice, and hopefully that will dissipate when it's in the jars and be left with just the flavors of the wine vinegar and the balsamic. Okay, just a slight change here. I didn't like the way they were roasting without oil, so I drizzled just a little bit of oil on them, and because of that I'm going to probably pressure can these in the end. Not probably, I am going to pressure can as opposed to water bath can, just for safety's sake. So I'm on the 6th tray here. So here we go, a little bit of salt. You'd be surprised how much tomatoes love salt. A little bit of this thyme. And I've chopped up some garlic. You can never have too much garlic. So that is the only difference here, is that I'm adding a little bit of, drizzling a little bit of oil when I cook them. Now I'm not going to be adding oil to the jars as much as I would love to. We can do that after we open them up. Like whenever we take some out and use it, we can top it up with some oil. But for the sake of canning them up, I'm not going to add any extra oil, but I will add my just half a teaspoon of my lemon and what do you call it, wine vinegar and balsamic vinegar mixture to each jar. Just a little bit of each, and hopefully that adds a little more flavor. Well, good evening, and I'm just filming this last little segment to show you the end result of my roasted tomatoes. Actually, they taste awesome. Unfortunately, the little bit of oil makes it very difficult to seal sometimes. I did make 8 little jars, 8 half-pint jars, and 2 of them did not seal. So they are in the fridge. But 6 did, so they're fine. I'll be keeping an eye on them though, because I could find no recipe on how to can these, so I just did what I felt was the safest thing to do, and they look awesome, they taste awesome, can be used as pizza toppings on bruschetta, all kinds of things. Actually, my son mentioned bruschetta, so yeah, he's right, they definitely can be used for bruschetta. As an appetizer, on cheese and crackers, you know, they are really wonderful tasting little items. Now, mostly people just pack them in oil and put them in the fridge, and I could have done that. I just don't have the refrigerator space, so I'm glad I was able to make these shelf stable. And I will keep an eye on them and make sure they stay that way. And if the seals comes loose, then they will be tossed immediately. But so far they look wonderful. And there we have it. They're all cleaned and washed and the rings removed, and they appear all very well sealed, very solid. So I am quite happy with the end result. Yeah, they are a bit of work, but definitely an interesting and different thing to do with these little little tomatoes. Definitely better than drying them. Anyway, that's my video for now, and I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next one.